All right, so this story and what you're watching and hearing goes back to July of 2020 when U.S. Army Sergeant Daniel Perry, who was driving for Uber at the time, encountered this: a large crowd of protesters illegally blocking city streets in Austin, Texas during the BLM riots.
One of the protesters, 28-year-old Garrett Foster, was openly carrying an AK-47, and according to Perry's defense team, he raised the firearm at Sergeant Perry while demonstrators were encircling and pounding his vehicle. So once the weapon was raised, Perry's legal team says he had opened fire with a handgun he legally carried for self-defense. There are conflicting accounts as to whether Foster raised the rifle to the driver first, but either way, the verdict for the case was handed down on Friday. For more on this, let's welcome in Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. AG, welcome, and thanks for coming on. Let's get to the decision, right, from the jury. The jury found the Army sergeant guilty in this case, and you have responded to it. The New York Post has got the summary here. You say the Soros-backed prosecutor, Jose Garza, is to blame. You said self-defense is a God-given right, not a crime. Unfortunately, the Soros-backed DA in Travis County cares more about the radical agenda of dangerous Antifa and BLM mobs more than justice. If you could, sir, just lay out this case to your reaction to the verdict and why you offered the response you did.
Look, I wasn't shocked because I know what Jose Garza is doing. He's not prosecuting many crimes that should be prosecuted, that the legislature, Texas legislature, has set our crimes. And our crime rate has gone up significantly in the Austin area because of that. But in this case, I was stunned that this case turned out the way it did, given that this guy was carrying AK-47 and potentially pointed it at him. Either way, this sergeant had a right to stand his ground in Texas. You're not required to retreat. He had obviously a large number of protesters around him and may have felt threatened given that there was a gun either pointed at him or close to him.
Sure. In Texas Governor Greg Abbott also responding in this story, learning he's seeking to pardon the Army Sergeant Daniel Perry. Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's the right move. He can't do it unilaterally. In Texas, we have a procedure. You have to go through the Pardon and Parole Board. They have to make the recommendation. The governor can certainly ask for it, but ultimately they have to say yes to it, and then he can make the pardon if they approve it.
So also an interesting element of the story is the attorney, Harmeet Dillon, again, on behalf of Daniel Perry here, is basically retweeting the affidavit from the lead detective who had claimed the Soros DA directed him to, quote, remove exculpatory information that I had intended to present to the grand jury during my testimony. So what does the detective tell you about sort of how this was all handled?
Yeah, and that's probably one of my biggest concerns is the lead detective. He was with the Austin Police Department. If he wants to present evidence that he thinks clears Daniel Perry, and the district attorney says, no, I don't want the grand jury to hear that. I don't want the jury to hear that. That, to me, is a significant problem and clearly a violation of his rights to have all evidence that potentially clear him be presented.
All right. We appreciate the time of Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, again, weighing in on that, again, continuing to follow the actions of the governor and the procedures following that in terms of if a pardon would be possible for the sergeant there. We'll continue to follow that. AG, thank you. Good to see you.
Hey, thank you.